Let's go for it. So welcome along. So my name's John Chippindall, and I am co-founder and CEO of TeachMateAI. I'm a primary school teacher in Manchester, have been for the last 10 years, more than 10 years now. And we run these sessions just so that we can showcase the full breadth of everything that TeachMateAI can do for you and support you. And, you know, we've grown the platform a lot since launching it. Just over 12 months ago, we've added a whole host of functionality. So it's important that we, communicate to our users about everything the platform can do and ensure that you're getting the most out of it. So we run these sessions and they're free and you can come to as many of them as you want. Just got other people joining, so I'll keep letting them in. Now, the structure of this afternoon session is going to take about sort of 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. And I'm going to start just by front-loading things with a couple of slides because we think it is important as AI has exploded into the world of education over the past 12 months, and TeachMateAI is one of the leading platforms to support teachers with AI in their schools. We have a responsibility to educate our users actually on how this technology works a little as well. Because I think when you have that understanding, you can importantly understand the limitations of the technology and why it's important to do things like have professional oversight of what it produces and how to get the most out of it. So I'm going to do a couple of slides here on how TeachMate works, what it is and how it works. And then we're going to focus on going into the platform and demoing some of the real big hitter tools, showing you some of the tool linking that we've got so that the outputs of one lead through to the inputs of the next, and just how to get the most out of the platform. So I hope that's as you expected. So I will make a start. As I said, if you do have questions as we go through, drop them into the chat. I'll keep an eye on it. If it's appropriate for me to answer there and then, I will do. If not, I'll come back to them at the end. So what is TeachMateAI? Well, in short, just over 12 months ago, we were keeping an eye on the release of the new large language models, ChatGPT, etc. And myself and the other co-founder, Lee Parkinson, started looking at these about how and looking at how we could use them to support teachers to speed up many of the parts of their job. The trouble was that the quality of the outputs from these large language models weren't really there. You asked it to produce a lesson plan, it would do something that was all right, but it wasn't great. So we essentially set about enhancing large language models for an education application. And we also did some stuff to sanitize them as well, which I'll come on to in a second. So first thing we did was set about enhancing these models. So we did that in a number of ways. We first of all fed the models a large amount of education-specific data, and we used various different technical processes to do that. So things like guidance from DFE or the various curriculums of Devolved Nations, Curriculum for Excellence, or the 2022 Welsh curriculum. We essentially fed that data into the models so that when you are interacting with that AI, it is a sort of education specialist as opposed to a general large language model. The next thing we did was spent a long time developing prompts. So prompts are things which are put into the model, so instructions that go into the model to get your output. So if you say to an AI model, write me a lesson plan, you get something back. But if you write and learn how to craft a really lengthy prompt that says, I am a teacher in this school teaching this year group, and I would like you to write a lesson plan for this learning objective linking to these research-backed pedagogical approaches for blah, 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 you will get a much better result back. But it is time-consuming learning how to prompt. So we have done that for you, and behind all of our tools sit these lengthy prompts which go into the AI engine. The final thing we then did was sort of streamline the whole process for you by adding in these integrations with Word and PowerPoint and Excel and Google Drive, and Microsoft Drive will be there in the next few weeks as well. so that you can go right from AI model at one end through to spitting out a pupil worksheet at the other end in a nice seamless process. So that's everything we did to enhance it, and what this results in is TeachMateAI, our platform with all of our different tools. I mentioned a few minutes ago, though, we also did a lot to sanitize generative AI for education. So we are fully GDPR compliant, and the reason that we're fully GDPR compliant is because all of our data is hosted and stored in the UK, and none of the data that you put into the platform is scraped to train models. Now, this isn't the case with things like ChatGPT that's free to use online. You need to remember, if something is free, you are not the customer, you are the product. And it is totally the case, same with social media, you're the product there on social media, the customer, the people selling to you on it. You are the product when it comes to working with free things like ChatGPT, because all of that data you're putting in and the way you're interacting with it is being scraped in to train those models, and it shouldn't be being used to put any information about schools or pupils into those models. So none of that happens with TeachMateAI, hence we can say to schools, which we regularly do when we speak to heads of IT in the large trusts across the country, we're fully GDPR compliant. This is why, so you can use this in schools with safe in the knowledge that all the boxes are ticked. So that's a kind of what is TeachMate. But what does it ultimately lead to? Well, we've got essentially an expanding list of about 110 now, tools, AI-powered tools to help you. And they broadly do one of two things. They are either big time savers, which is fantastic as a teacher. I know that we have a workload crisis in education leading to a retention crisis. So anything we can do to reduce workload, fantastic. But the other area, and this is perhaps even more exciting, area that particularly interests me, is how we can also use AI to really, really quickly personalise resources. Far quicker than we'd ever been able to do before, so we can instantly translate that resource into the native language for that pupil, or adapt that material, make it slightly easier, so quickly. So when I demo the platform, I'm going to demo the platform with these sort of two distinctions in mind. And I'm just going to take one moment to talk a little bit more about this kind of super personalization. So whenever I'm with people, I normally ask this question to them. I get them to think about this in a pre-AI world, and people always give me the same response. So the question is, you've got a reluctant reader in your class with a very niche interest in intergalactic pirates. What do you do? The example I've given here sounds sort of more kind of primary, but it also could apply. You could be a secondary school science teacher. They're a reluctant learner in their physics lessons, but they've got an interest in, skateboarding, whatever it might be. What do you do as a teacher? Well, we naturally try and find resources to connect with our learners on the level which interests them. So here with the niche interest in intergalactic pirates, teachers will typically find themselves looking for things online or in a library. Can they find a text which is going to engage them, engage the pupils? It might have been in the secondary example I gave there. Can you try and find information about forces involved in skateboarding, of which there is lots. But you try and reach out across those learners in a context they're interested in. But that can be very time consuming. Trying to find something and the chances of it fitting exactly, matching the context that you want to cover and the learning objective is very, very minimal. But complete game changer here when it comes to AI, in that now we don't need to look for things, we can create them. So, for example, if you want a model text that models subordinate clauses, because that's the gap in their learning, in the context of intergalactic pirates, just make it. Go on to TeachMateAI, go onto the model text generator, and have it written for you. Okay, so this is what I mean about this exciting area of personalization of learning resources, because you can do that so quickly. You're not just trying to find something that kind of fits, You make something that fits the purpose exactly. Final slide for me before I get into a platform demo, it's this one. So, are you set? A little mnemonic that we have to remind you how to get the most out of using TeachMate. When you're using the platform, keep in mind, are you set? The S stands for be specific, okay? When you're entering information into the website, be as clear and as detailed and as specific as possible. There is a direct correlation between your specificity, I can't say that word, and the quality of the output that you're going to get. Okay, if you're vague, it won't match your needs. Particularly with the planning tools, use the language of the curricula that you teach. So if you want it to plan your unit on evolution and inheritance, call it evolution and inheritance. Don't just call it evolution or survival of the fittest. It will help the AI really hone in onto what you are asking from it. E, most important thing I'm going to say today is that we are not in the business of replacing teachers. We are not suggesting that our AI replaces you and just generates the resource and it goes straight in front of the pupil. We are in the business of supporting teachers, and teachers, you still have professional oversight over everything that the AI produces and you put in front of your pupils. We talk about a sort of 80-20 rule where we do 80% of the heavy lifting. You do the really, really important final 20% of tweaking it, adjusting it, and I'll show you some of the tools we have in the platform to enable that, so that the resource is absolutely spot on. And T, try again. Sometimes you might use one of the tools and it just doesn't quite give you what you were hoping for. No problem. Just try again. You know, it's easy to forget that AI is a creative process. You won't get exactly the same again, so it is well worth, I'm just letting somebody in, it's well worth just hitting regenerate and giving it another go. Right, okay, so those are my slides. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get into the platform and do a bit of a demo of the key kind of pro tools, the big hitters. As I say, doing a little bit of that kind of structure where we're going to look at planning, time saving first, and then resource creation and personalization second. So here's the platform. If you've got a free account, it looks very similar, but you just can't access all of the tools. If you've got a pro account, then you can. We also provide multi-school and school management facilities, so anybody that's looking to purchase for a whole school, if you do purchase for a whole school, you then have a school management page where you can assign and licenses, etc. And if you have purchased as a multi-school, so a trust, you can actually then have a management page of all of the schools that are in your trust. From the hub page here, before I jump into the tools, let me just take a moment to draw your attention to a couple of important resources here as well. If you go to our View All Resources button here, you'll see we're populating this section with resources to support you. If your school doesn't have an AI policy yet, we sort of crowd-funded one. Is that the right phrase? Kind of is. So we basically got a load of our teachers from our Facebook group, which I really recommend joining. Let's open that up, to come together and help us draft a template policy. So that is in there for you to take, use, adopt how you want. Please do join all of the discussion in the Facebook group. It's a fantastic resource in here of over 7,000 teachers, nearly 8,000 teachers using TeachMate and supporting each other. So it's a great way to continue getting support for your use of the platform. Right, let's now jump into some of the tools. Right, so let's start with planning. As we've got so many tools now and we're adding more all the time, please do use these filter buttons at the top here to identify where you want to be directed. So I'm going to click on planning and it's going to filter these tools just down to our planning selection. And I'm going to start with the medium-term topic planner. Okay, and I'll show you why in a second. So here I go. When you sign up, you set your default curriculum. I'm going to say I'm teaching the science subject, 6 lessons of rocks from year 3, and I'm going to hit generate. Now, just whilst that's generating, I've probably got about 40 seconds or so to show you a couple of things. First thing to tell you about, these are little tips and tricks. If you're on any tool, you can click to add to favourites, and then that means they'll appear here. So if you've got quite a few favourites, you click on show all, and this is your own favourites page. You can bookmark that, and then you can easily get back to your favourite tools that you use most regularly. Second thing to make you aware of is that the little page icon here is, if you haven't realised already, it's where all of the resources that you produce for the last 28 days are stored. So you can see I've got everything in here. You can re-download them, you can delete them if you want, or you can view them online. Okay, right, so those are a couple of quick tips. Now let's go back to our medium-term plan for year 3, Science Rocks. So this would have now produced your medium-term plan, which links to the national curriculum. You can edit this. Going back to what I was saying about, we want to promote teachers not just taking this and saying it's the final product, but it's a starting point. We've done the heavy lifting. You can tweak it, edit it, because all of our tools return in this little online editor. But when you're happy with it, you can then extract the learning objectives, and you can start now a process of planning in detail each one of these lessons. So we can say, right, lesson objective, let's do 1, compare and group different types of rocks. Let's create a lesson plan for that. So it feeds it through, populates everything, and you just hit generate. And this will now create a lesson plan all about to teach that learning objective to compare and group different kinds of rocks. It should just take a minute or so. Here we go. So it's produced a lesson plan for me with clarity on the objectives, evaluation of prior knowledge, instructional strategies, plenary, adaptation, assessment strategies, etc., etc. I can then also create my slides to go with it. So I click on create slideshow, just tell it how many slides I want, and I click generate. And at the same time I can create the pupil resources for it. So hit generate, and it will create the pupil resources. We've got our slides back now for our rocks. Let's have a look. Types of rock, 3 main types: comparing rocks, grouping rocks, presenting findings. That's going to link up to our lesson objective. But let me take this opportunity to show you the refinement bar, because the refinement bar is a new addition to our all of our tools, and it essentially means that when you get the AI to produce the output, if it's not quite what you wanted, or you want to add on something, or you want to refine it, you can do that. You can interact with it. So I can say here, add a slide add a slide on the process by which sedimentary rocks are formed. Hit return, and it will now make that adjustment for me, hopefully. So this really, rolling out this refinement bar across all of our tools has really increased the level to which the AI can be, you can talk with the AI to get the resources just as you want them. With some other platforms you just, here we go, so we now got formation of sedimentary rocks. Okay, so it's added that in. So please make use of that. You can use it to say, right, this is a bit complex, let's make it simpler, or the vice versa. This is a little bit simple, can you increase the complexity of the vocabulary? Whatever it might be, the refinement bar can be used to do that. We should now also have our worksheet back. Yes, we do, which it's created. And you can then go on to instantly adapt that worksheet. You can make it more complex or simpler. So that's a whistle-stop tour of our planning tools. I started there at the medium-term topic planner. However, and then that sort of started that process of linked tools. If, however, you have your medium-term plans in place, not to worry. All you have to do, if you start from the lesson planner and then enter your year group, subject and the learning objective, it will create your lesson plans for you, and then from there you will get the linked tools to create the slides and to create the worksheets, etc. Now I'm going to just pause because we have a question. So Janine, so question around image generation. Yes, so it's a good question to ask. It's a question we often get asked. It's around image generation. I'm just going to paraphrase your question slightly. You've asked talking about finding images. The question I often get asked is whether we could either find or generate images to go into the PowerPoint. So currently, the base technology, the AI technology, just isn't there to do that. AI technology is very good currently at doing creative images that don't have to be factually accurate. So we do, for example, have a colouring sheet generator where you can come in here and you can do something silly and creative. For example, a llama riding a rocket in space. And this kind of stuff AI can do all day long because it doesn't have to be factually accurate. If you try and produce an image to go on a slide deck to accompany your presentation about the digestive system, you'll get images with 4 hearts and 3 lungs. The base technology is just not there yet. Look at that. Fantastic. I'm going to put, I don't know what this is on their back there, like a kind of galaxy in a crystal ball, something like that. I'm going to print that. My daughter loves llamas. But the technology is not there, and our priority is quality. We are, the generative AI technology that is around at the moment is the start of the journey. It's only going to get better. As soon as it is possible to integrate accurate AI image generation, of course we will do it. But for the moment, going back to that point about the kind of 80-20, we're doing 80% of the heavy lifting by producing all of the content. You can tweak those, add in a few images, and then off you go. So I hope that has answered your question for you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's now take a little bit of a look at some of the resource questions. So Jane had a question there about removing the questions that are placed on the slides. Funny you should say that. I've been working on that today. There's going to be a tick box rolled out from next week. So it's a quick one to answer, where when you're generating slides, you can choose whether or not you want those assessment questions on there or not, because a couple of people have said they'd like to have the choice of it. So yeah, that'll be rolled out next week. Right, so let's look at a little bit of resource creation now. So one I'm going to start with, because I love the resource, the resources it produces, is the character interview tool. So this can be used to interview any famous historical character or fictional character, religious character. You can put the AI in character and you can ask them questions. So I could say to Charles Darwin, how did you discover evolution? Can't spell because I'm being watched and recorded. What animals did you study and where did you travel? Hit generate. Now this is a lovely tool. You can use it in a range of different contexts, primary or secondary, right down to Key Stage 1 and interviewing Florence Nightingale. But the reason I also wanted to show you this is because it then leads in nicely into demoing some of the tools that can be used to adapt the resources. So I can then take this and I can copy it, because we might think, well, we like this response. So, my dear young Year 6 students, it's a pleasure to share with you the fascinating journey. But you might think, that's a little bit complex for some of my less confident readers. Let's copy that. Let's go to the SEND and adaptation collection, and let's differentiate it. So we're going to drop it into our differentiate text tool, and let's bring it down a bit. Here we go, drop it in there, hit generate. Now this tool will instantly, almost instantly, reduce the complexity of language whilst retaining meaning. There we go, it's done. So it just reduces the complexity of the vocabulary whilst retaining the meaning, so that you can adapt resources and provide them to less confident pupils in your class. You might then also want to take this and use our one of our comprehension generator tools to create some comprehension questions about it. So if you're in English, whether you're in primary or secondary, you can use our comprehension question tools. So I can drop it in here, and that's so 6 word meaning, number of questions, hit generate, off you go. It will create some comprehension questions from that text. Okay, and it will give you the questions and the answers there as well. But things like this, the ability to instantly differentiate things, are what really excites me with the SEND and adaptation tools. And we've got lots of other popular ones in there. For example, we have a language translator where you can translate any resources into another language if you have pupils with English as an additional language. We've recently released a couple of tools, student checklist generator or step-by-step instructions. They're fairly similar, but this can be used for a wide range of applications. So it might be tasks such as in Year 7, using a protractor in maths, hit generate. Whatever it might be, so I'm just making a note of something that I've just remembered. You can produce a step-by-step instructions with a tick list and some tips to support your pupils. And you can say, let's translate this into French. So, producing those important additional resources to support pupils with a variety of different needs can be done very, very quickly. In my school, we use social stories quite a bit to develop pupils' social understanding. We have a couple of tools in here which can support you with that. So developing social stories to kind of explain the implications of behaviour or experiences pupils are about to go on, we have tools in there to do that. And we also have tools to cover some of the sort of administrative paperwork side, important as it is, but we can do the heavy lifting on some of that around writing IEPs or one-page support profiles or pupil passports. With these tools, it's important to note that they are not degrading the personal sort of nature of these documents. They are still very personal because you are doing the thinking. The AI is not doing the thinking. The detail, the strengths, the areas of challenge, any additional information is still coming from you. The AI just does the heavy lifting of dropping it together into a form and forming it up into paragraphs of information. So there's a bit of a misconception there, and it's coming through a little bit at the moment with our report writer, which I'll quickly demonstrate to you. We've heard that some schools are banning the use of AI for writing reports, and I think that comes from a lack of understanding. That's often the case when things are banned, because it's that the criticism is that AI reports aren't personal. Well, that's because you think that the AI is doing the thinking about the child. It's not. Teachers sit down, they can use our report writer to put in detailed information about individual pupils' strengths and areas of development. The AI just forms that into paragraphs of text for you. In fact, it's really nice to get feedback from our teachers using this tool to say it's some of the best reports they've ever written, the most personal reports they've ever written, because their time and energy 100% goes into thinking about the children. The AI then basically acts as a personal assistant to turn that into paragraphs of text. And this year, you might have seen as well, we've released a new feature with our report writer called Clone My Tone, where it will learn to write like you. So you provide it 3 examples of existing writing and it will learn to write in your style. So please do check out the report writer if you're interested, if it's report writing time for yourself, which I'm sure it is for many of you. Okay, a couple of final big hitter tools to finish on then. And then I will pause the recording and I will take any questions. By the way, Fiona, art and design, so that's all covered. We need to be clear on this. What we mean by these subject tabs here is that we've got some tools that are specific to those subjects. That doesn't mean that art and design isn't covered in the other tools. So if you go into planning, all of the planning tools have a full understanding of the art and design curriculum, national curriculum. So it's just that we have some specific tools for these subjects, and I think that that's partly at the moment. Art and design is partly because we don't do as much image generation stuff. As we do more of that stuff, we have specific tools for them, and then it will appear as a subject here. But all of our planning tools cover that. Yeah, Kerry, so if the best thing, we regularly handle inquiries regarding data assessments, DPIAs, etc. Please get in contact with me. I'll drop my email in there again, and we can liaise with you on that. So there's my email for you. Right, okay, so a couple of big hitters. So the quiz tool, quiz generator. So this one will allow you to produce a quiz on any topic for retrieval or consolidation purposes. So let's do the solar system, and let's say 10 questions, 30 seconds per question, and we're going to do a single choice one. The reason it's asking for time for the questions is because this tool actually allows you to export and use the questions in the popular digital quizzing platforms like Blookit or Kahoot. So it will allow you to export as a CSV and import it into those. So here we've got our questions here. You can edit them or you can regenerate them, and when you're ready to go you can just export them. You can either go old school as a Word document, or you can go to Blookit or Kahoot, etc. And then the other one, just to finish on, actually, sorry, two more. I could go on all day, but I won't, because we're going to reach the end of time. So first thing to say is that we also have a whole range of tools for SLT and subject leadership. So whether that's senior leaders that are writing school improvement plans, we can support with that. Middle leaders that are doing subject leader action plans or writing up lesson observations, etc. Our DocuDive tool is fundamentally different to all of the other tools on the platform, because this is essentially a education expert chatbot. So you can come in here and you can ask it questions because it's been trained on all of this relevant data and documentation. So for instance, if you're based in England, you'll see it's got reference to Ofsted, but if you're based in Scotland or Northern Ireland or Wales, this list will look different. And you can ask it questions like, what is Ofsted's position on AI? Because they released a paper a couple of weeks ago about this. It will just use this data to respond to you. So it talks about the fact that they produced a paper that's consistent with the national AI strategy, which they did. It talks about how they're using AI, etc. So please do make use of DocuDive. If you've got any query, you can ask it broad questions. You can ask it what the pay of the M5 teacher in London is, whatever you need. So that's that. And then the final thing is, because I love this one, create resources from YouTube. You might have found a lovely video that you want to use in your teaching, like this one here on Florence Nightingale, but you still need to then do the kind of work in producing resources to go around that. Well, we can support with that. So if you drop the URL into the topic bar there, and hit generate, our platform will take a transcription of that video, it will summarize it, and then it will say, right, what do you want to make from this? Do you want to make a quiz? Do you want to make slides? Here we go. So here's the video, and it'll say, right, what do you want to make? So let's just create some pupil resources. So it'll send it through, and I can get it to create a pupil worksheet which pupils can then have alongside them and they can complete whilst they're doing the video. You can also choose to turn the content into slides or have a quiz to go along with it, or comprehension as well. So I'm going to finish there. We've got so many tools and we've got more coming. Help Me Write's fantastic because it's so open. Whatever you need, you can drop in what you need to write, details you need to include, whatever you need help writing, that's the tool to go to. What other ones that we've got? We've got the descriptive language generator, is fantastic, really supportive for teaching people's writing. But I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop the recording. If you're watching this on the recording, I'm about to stop it now so I can answer any specific questions that people joining me live have got. And if you're watching this recording and you've got any specific questions, you can get in contact with me at john@teachmateai.com. So let's stop the recording.